You are listening to the Billy Dees podcast. We are waiting just a minute for everyone to engage the live stream. Remember, you can find the Billy Dees podcast on your favorite platform.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. So glad that you could make it to our live stream. If you're new here on X, or we're on Rumble now and a couple of other places, live anyway, if you, what we usually do is just wait a couple moments for everyone to lock onto the live stream. I can't speak all of a sudden.
It's so unusual for you, Billy.
Yeah. And then I'll actually start the podcast itself, which you hear on all those on the different platforms. It's actually recorded separately, and we kind of let the live audience come in on the taping. That's kind of how we operate. Shaman, anything new happening you want to tell us about real quick?
You know what? I've got an event called Celtech's Sound Bites to Solutions, which is an event series that's happening in New York City for now, just New York City, but we'll be definitely going around the country, and where we take really important topics and take them from sound bites to solutions. So on April 4th at the Anthology Film Archives, we're going to be screening a film called Displaced from Fair Safe Films, and having a panel of immigration experts and local politicians from New York. So I'm excited about that. I'll be hosting the panel, so it should get spicy.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and start the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and here we go. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. As always, I'm absolutely thrilled that you are here. If you've never checked out our program before, we are primarily an interview and a commentary-based podcast. Today, we are live on X and a number of other different platforms. We're going to be doing commentary and opinion today with Shamanisis. Shaman, welcome to the program. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Billy, for that lovely intro, and hello to our audience.
Yes, a couple of things going on. For one thing, the vice presidential, what should I say, circus or publicity stunts is already in full swing. There's a lot of speculation about RFKjr and who he will choose, as well as Donald Trump. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about this squatter situation, which is primarily happening in New York. But I got to tell you, this is just another case where law-abiding people that play by the rules just don't have any rights, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, squatting is nothing new, but it's hitting a new head here lately. And and then we're going to talk about celebrity culture. Maybe we'll lead off with that. I know Shamanisis has been a part of the New York scene for many, many years. And in her travels, she did a lot of work for media companies and celebrities and things like that. She and I have talked about before how the celebrity culture, which was right up there with divine intervention up until the last couple of years. Everybody worshipped celebrities. And now there seems to be a turn away from that. And I think the COVID era, where you had a lot of hypocrisy, people talking down to the people about wearing masks, about getting the vaccine and doing all these other things, and then hop on a plane and go to Florida or some other place, sit on the beach. J-Lo, I don't know exactly, on TikTok in particular, there has
it's bad.
It's been bad for J-Lo, and I really don't have any feelings about her one way or the other. I never really found her somebody that I didn't like, and I never really found her someone that conjured up a lot of affection from me. I didn't get it either way.
And I think that's actually where the problem lies.
Okay.
Being a celebrity has become kind of a double-edged sword. People want people who are really relatable, and because the time in which she rose up through the ranks was really about the glamour lifestyle, flashing the cash, running around in fancy cars, and she had her fair share of scandals about that whole era. her lifestyle and her celebrity was very much about being aspirational.
Yeah.
And that made her, sort of untouchable and unknowable in many ways, and I think that she's in this position in her career where, like, they're all freaking out because the celebrity culture's dying in many ways, and people would rather listen to some average Joe on TikTok than,
Sure.
some big name star, and so she's trying to make herself relatable, and I think it's that effort to suddenly become relatable that comes across to some people, and I don't think it's actually necessarily disingenuous at all. I actually have admired her ability to be diverse and and make money and, be the goddess that she is, but it has put her in an unusual position of trying to come back and support the projects that she has, in the new era of media where people want
Yeah.
you to be relatable, and a lot of people feel like it's disingenuous, so, you know.
Just to bring the audience up to date, if you're not aware, there's some sort of a new documentary out online about her. And there's a scene in there, and this for some reason grabbed a lot of people's attention, where she's kind of sitting on a workout bench or something, and she messes up her hair, and she goes, "This kind of reminds me when I was Jenny from the block when I was 16 years old,
Running through the streets, which
running through the
honestly
street."
sounds a whole lot like my book, Memory Mansion, where the running thread through the whole book, it starts out with me running through the streets of Memphis and being a wild child and leads to me running for years, so I was like I found that very, interesting because it was so parallel to my own, story, but, it did come across as trying to be relatable.
Yes, and there's a lot of things that we could bring into this, and one of the reasons why I find it newsworthy is it's to me evidence, and we've talked about this on this podcast before, where the traditional media is starting to lose its grasp. And I've mentioned before about the magic of Hollywood. The magic of Hollywood really doesn't exist anymore. All the new movies look like high tech video games.
Mhm.
There's very little creativity in them. There's very little real storytelling in them. Um, and TikTok and other places have creators that are immensely talented. Now, sure, I know people are going to say, well, there's nothing on there but crazy dancing and stuff like that. Sure, absolutely. You'll have that with any platform. There's a lot of stuff on there that's absolutely worthless. But there's a percentage of people on there who are more talented than established entertainers. Absolutely, they are.
Oh,
There is.
absolutely, yeah.
And same with people who are doing this investigative journalism. There's a lot of people that are getting to the bottom of things that don't work for one of them three-letter outfits. Okay. So that this is all part of it. And I would ask you this. We're all pretty much the same generation as J-Lo is. A lot of people are saying, number one, that some of the negative backlash that she has got as a brand is because of the fact that she's always wanted to be the woman where young girls want to look like her and be like her. Well, now that she's
Mhm.
older, not that there's anything wrong with that, but that isn't necessarily an ideal for somebody who's 18 years old. You don't want to look like a 50-year-old woman, no matter how good that woman looks. I
Yeah,
suppose.
I actually don't think that has
No,
anything to do with this. I
I
think
think that,
that's just an angle that people like to hang on to. She looks fucking amazing,
yeah, she
excuse my
looks
French.
amazing. Yeah,
She looks
and
amazing, and frankly, I know I've seen a lot of women in their 20s without any makeup on, and they don't look any better than J.Lo does with a few tiny little wrinkles. I think it's
yeah,
really about people are sick to we've had decades of celebrity culture that has been supported and their asses have been kissed, and people have been through hell for the last couple of years, and they're really worried about just paying their rent. And that feels so disconnected from this lifestyle of the rich and famous that we promoted for such a long time. And
yeah.
celebrities that continue to show that lifestyle or live that lifestyle are going to have a hard time finding a footing with people.
I would say too. I don't have any direct connection to J Lo. There's some celebrities that I know, and or I know people who have worked for them. I don't really have a connection to J Lo that I can pursue and investigate this. But it seems like every other video, there is a plethora of stories about people who have worked in hotels, worked in restaurants, who got some kind of crappy story about how she treats people.
Can I tell you, Billy?
Sure,
I've
sure, go right
actually
ahead.
done several projects with her. I've done, not directly with her. I want to be clear about that. I've worked with a lot of celebrities, but I did some events that included her. one of them was a party for her SNL appearance at Brasserie 8.5, and then there were 2 other events where I got to work in the same space with her. I mean, I was busy doing other things, but she acted like a class act,
Yeah,
as much as I love to jump on any bandwagon if it's speaking the truth, because I'm all about the truth. But honestly, I found her to be very, very similar to a lot of celebrities who get to a place where they have to be careful about having conversation with people, because
sure.
if you've seen how people behave with celebrities, you understand why they do it.
Yeah.
It gets really weird, awkward, and uncomfortable for a lot of them when they don't have those defense mechanisms. I'm not saying she hasn't been unattractive to some other people, but I never saw that.
That's an interesting and a good piece of information. I understand the need to keep a distance sometimes from the public. Now, I was never anything on the order of that famous. When I was well known in northeastern Ohio as a disc jockey, and I did some stand up there for a while, I can tell you that people have no borders, no lines that they won't cross when it comes to walking up to you and speaking their mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the music sucks, this and that, and they'll do it anywhere. You're at a dinner table in the restroom. There's nothing that's off limits in terms of how people will approach you.
Mhm.
And I did have a stalker one time. As a matter of fact, I had a couple of them. I can certainly understand the need to keep a distance.
Yeah.
But the stories that I'm hearing, and here again, there seems like there's so many of them, like having bodyguards push people, having waiters and so forth being instructed not to look at the person in the eye, all
Mhm.
this kind of bullshit. It
Which was
seems like
a lot which, by the way, was very common for most celebrities. It's all part of the show. That's what a lot of people don't understand, is a lot of that's all about the show.
all right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she hasn't been rude to people, I'm just saying that a lot of people are taking things out of context. That is part of the walking in the door, the entrance, the queen has arrived. You don't
yeah,
you don't you politicians have bodyguards who push people out of the way all the time. We rarely see it on TV.
yeah. Yeah, here again, I understand the need to keep a distance from the and especially today because somebody
Mhm.
walk up and kill you. Okay, so yeah, I didn't have that. Well, can't say I totally ever discounted it when I was getting it, but I'll tell you a brief story. One time, I was emceeing an event at a large club one time, and a real popular band was playing, and the place was packed. And during the breaks, I would go out and do contests and all this other kind of stuff, give stuff away and all that kind of crap. And I had this guy watching me. I didn't think much about it. And he comes up to me and he starts to strike up a conversation. Yeah, I'm talking to him, and he's a little off. I can't quite describe it. This was probably about 25 or 30 years ago, so I can't give you an exact thing of what he said. But at about the third or the fourth attempt to get a conversation going with me, he asked me out to breakfast. He said, when this is over, I'd really like to talk to you about some things. I got some ideas. Would you like to come to breakfast with me? And I said, look, I really can't. I'm on a tight schedule. And then it turned just like that. I mean,
Yeah.
he got crazy just that moment. And not to be crude, but this is what he said to me. He said, I bet if I had a pussy, you'd say yes.
Whoa.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And
So I
that's why you
knew,
have to be careful with people, because they change.
yeah. So I knew right then this guy's, there's something not right. And I was like, the
Mhm.
bouncer, Mr. Security, come over here, please.
But you gonna help
So,
me out.
yeah. So, it's, when you experience something like that, there's
Mhm.
no reasoning with this person. I can certainly understand the need for a distance. But here again, the stories that I'm hearing is a little bit more beyond that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if there was somebody on there that told the story about it. She walked up to a table. She was a waitress, and before she could even say anything, J-Lo just said, "Somebody else." That meaning somebody else take care of it. There's something about her she
Mhm.
didn't like. Now here
You know
again,
what's
I don't
interesting
know if
about
this is
these
true.
stories,
Yeah,
is
I'm just
that
saying
I
that there's
have
a
to
lot
point
of them.
out,
Go ahead.
because and I know there are, 'cause she's a big name, she's also been around for a really long time.
Yep.
I mean, she's been around for 20 something years, and
Yep.
that gives you lots of opportunities to upset people by not having conversation with them because they wanna have conversation with you, and again, I'm not defending her, I'm defending the situation because 'cause I've seen it so many times. I mean, I literally worked with some of the world's most famous people, and I've watched what they have to deal with. Um, uh, if she was a man, I don't think a lot of these conversations would even be being had, but people project this desire, this demand that women be nice. Now things are
Yeah.
changing, but I know this in business. I was expected to somehow do my job, be amazing at it, while simultaneously making sure everybody was really happy and I was nice to everybody. That is not a demand that society has placed at women's doorsteps, particularly female entrepreneurs who are badasses. And so, it's like as a woman, it's almost like you can't win. It's like if you're a badass who gets a great career, you have to also be mommy to everybody, or they're going to tell everybody that you're mean. I'm not saying there aren't stories about male celebrities out there doing the same things, but as a
Yeah.
woman, the demand to behave a certain way is, and if you're not, then you're not a good woman.
Yeah.
Is interesting.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. I don't know anything about J Lo. I can just tell you there's a lot of these kind of stories around
Mhm.
that don't make them true. But by the same token, there are a lot of celebrities who mistreat people.
Oh
And
god, yeah. Oh, yeah.
well, there was a couple of them. The late night guy, that the British guy, he got in trouble here about a year or so ago.
Mhm.
Something happened with a waitress or something. And there's been a number of them.
Oh, yeah, that is anytime you give power to particular groups of people and industries, you're gonna have a segment of them that are gonna be narcissists.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I wish J-Lo the best. I don't get the warm fuzzies about her, and I don't get them from Ben Affleck either. I'm sorry. There's something that there.
Oh,
What you would
that's
say,
not
their
her style.
energy,
She's
their
not the one
energy.
buzzing.
I'm not getting the energy from them that I
Well,
like.
me either, but she's also been married, like, 5
Well,
times.
she's what, amazing.
I have to be honest, I've never been that impressed with her taste in men, like, for the record, she with Puff Daddy?
I don't know. I know
I
that
no, I'm pretty sure the time that I did the
I've
SNL
never
thing that
followed her.
she was with
She
Puff
might have been.
Daddy,
Yeah, she
and,
might have
which
been.
is kind of interesting given the stories recently about
Yeah,
what's going on with him.
yeah, I'm told that he's making what's his name, Weinstein. This is
Oh,
Weinstein part 2.
it's
Yeah.
like it's Epstein Island too.
Epstein
Yeah,
Island too.
but
Okay.
same thing, yeah,
All
you're in the
thrown in
same
together.
ballpark.
Yeah, it's like kind of one of those horror movies where 1 and 2 combines to make 3.
Right?
Okay. This squatting is interesting.
Yeah.
I find this infuriating actually.
Mhm.
Um, I've said before, when it comes to our criminal justice system, there's just a little lead into this, kind of off topic, but we are obsessed with the rights of the accused. As a victim, you don't have any rights. You don't get no habeas corpus and all that shit. You don't get anything, right? You get your head bashed in. You better have health insurance, or you're going to have to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, that's why when it comes to squatters, you box them in a car and take them somewhere and drop them off really far away. Just I didn't say take them out, I meant
He's
take them out.
joking. Okay, although I could certainly understand that emotion. Now this thing here, especially in New York, squatters' rights
Mhm.
again have hit the news. There was a person in Flushing, Queens, who inherited a home. She went to go into it and get it ready to sell and whatever. Nope, there's somebody hanging out in there. And according to New York state law, squatters are classified as tenants and receive temporary rights as such after occupying the property for 30 days. In
Mhm.
another case, this was a woman who, 52 years old, was found dead. Suspects, squatters. In New York, a couple's plan. A couple bought this dream home. They bought it next to um, their family because they apparently have someone in the family who has Down syndrome and needs a lot of care. So they wanted the family to be close together. And sure enough, somebody's living in there. And squatter Brett Flores has been living in the home since the man he was caretaking for died. And apparently his story is that the person he was a caretaker for gave him like some kind of a contract or something to take care of him for such and such time, so he's not leaving. And here again, this is turning into a whole nightmare for the people who are still, if my information is correct, paying on the house. They are
Oh,
paying
yeah,
on the
to
house
ruin
because
their credit.
it would destroy their credit if they
Yeah.
stopped paying for the house. And apparently too, if this is true, this I didn't get from a major news organization. What I just read, I did. But I have also heard online that he's been trying to attempt to rent out certain parts of the house, rent out certain parts of the rooms of the house.
This has been going on for decades. I remember this happening in California, and in some cases, if it's left abandoned for too long, like and abandoned is a fairly flexible word depending on what state you're in.
Yeah,
Then some people you have to actually fight over ownership of it if it's been left unattended, if you will, for a long time. And it's my experience that I don't understand why more people don't just move in with their whole family and make it so uncomfortable they leave.
yeah. I don't know, but the other thing is what are they doing in the house once they know you're about to get them out? When they start to realize that they finally run their course.
Yeah.
One thing I would never do is rent property because I had a lot of friends who did when I was younger, and I've heard stories about people taking apart the banister and throwing it in the fireplace to heat the house because
Oh, yeah. Or
they, they,
just
they-
or moving in and never leaving, and then you're fighting them for years.
yes. And I suppose it's a good thing. Most of the laws across the country do protect the tenant because landlords in years past, like way back in the early part of the 1900s, were pretty ruthless in terms of how they treated their tenants. But now it's gotten to the point where somebody just, well, there's a house, there's nobody in it at the moment. I want to go
Mhm.
inside, and
Yeah.
you can't get them out.
Well, it's
Uh,
gonna get worse because rents are now 50% of people's income, and it's putting people, out of house and home all over the country. It's
yeah,
actually really bad. I'm not trying to be negative. It's a serious issue.
yeah. So I think I personally don't understand getting back to rights again. Now
Mm.
here's this couple worked hard their whole lives, planned for their retirement. As far as I know, never committed crimes or anything like that. They set themselves up for a nice place to live so they can take care of their family member who has Down syndrome and all these other things, and they're being treated like criminals. I just find that it's been 4 months, and
Yeah.
and and nobody's been helping them. They
Oh, I'm
they
not
own
surp I'm
they,
saying
they own
I
the
think it's
property.
usually 6 months to a year before you can actually get anything to actually happen. That's how long this goes on.
And it appears that all the examples I just kind of rattled off, it appears that the squatters have more rights and more claim to the house than the people who have actually owned it and paid for it. So what rights do we have, Shaman? If you're a law-abiding citizen and just a boring guy
Mhm.
or woman who just gets up in the morning, goes to work, comes home at night, takes a shit, flushes the toilet, and watches TV, what rights do you have?
Honestly, this country has become so left-leaning, and the courts have become so left-leaning that I'm honestly not surprised that this has become more of an issue. The country's gotten to the place where people who are breaking the law tend to get treated better than the people who are obeying the law, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really incentivize people to obey the law.
No, it doesn't. And what you said about, taking somebody out, quite frankly, it's getting to the point where somebody attacks you. You do what you have to do to defend yourself, and you're probably going to be the one that goes to jail.
Oh, yeah, go down in flames, I say, because you don't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. I'll never hesitate to go down in flames.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, and I think that's actually one of the reasons why so many people get hurt in dangerous situations because they're scared to defend themselves.
Oh,
And
sure.
that's a stupid place for this country to get. This country never had that problem. People were
No.
not afraid to defend themselves, and that these days people are afraid they're going to get in trouble or lose their job or end up on social media. It's like it's all bullshit. You should defend yourself, defend your family, and to hell with the consequences because we don't really control, the way they are right this second.
Yeah. Well, I empathize with the police sometimes when they get accused of roughing somebody up because once somebody attacks you, there's no polite way to take them down.
Oh no, no.
There isn't a polite way to take them down. But by the same token, some of these same police, not necessarily the same people, but these same entities of police are critical of citizens who do the same thing. Somebody's
Yeah.
coming at me with an axe, okay, and I break their neck. I don't want somebody to say, "Well, why'd you have to break their neck?"
It's like, "Fuck you." Because they had a fucking axe,
What was I supposed to do? Politely
Yeah.
take them down
But
somehow?
I don't think you hear that from police who we have far too many police who've never actually engaged in any combat, and one thing you won't hear is anybody who's ever been in a real fight, and I mean like a real throwdown, like save your life kind of fight, understands why the police, and I've been roughed up. I've had a very adventurous life. I've certainly gotten into my share of trouble, and I've been roughed up by police myself. Um, who misunderstood that I was the one that had called them. But I do know that when somebody's angry and combative, there is no nice way to put them on the ground. I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
there isn't.
have there been examples of people going overboard? I watched police abuse as a young kid in Memphis in the 70s. It exists. It is a thing. It is an issue, especially for certain parts of our country. But cops do have to do what they have to do.
Yeah. And quite frankly, this is going to sound harsh, but if somebody's trying to kill you and you get them down, sounds harsh, but you make
No,
damn sure they never get up again.
yeah,
You're going to be just like those horror movies where people, the damsel in distress is fighting the bad guy and she manages to throw hot coffee in his face and he goes, oh, and then she goes running and then he wipes it all off and goes after her again. You get somebody in a prone position, in a vulnerable prone position, and you make your hit. You take
yeah.
you take the coup de grace.
Oh,
You
yeah,
go,
when somebody's messing with you, this is it's an energy thing. You have to unleash the beast. I had a
yeah,
woman threatening my life with a gun once, and I was like, I mean, I opened up the dragon, and I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "We'll both be dead,"
yeah,
because this is not how I'm going out. This is
yeah.
not how the story ends, lady.
Yeah, you let one of them types of individuals up, and you won't live through it. But it won't happen the other. They're not going to give you a break. So
Exactly.
once
Yeah.
you get them down, you make sure they stay down.
Yes.
Like Eli Wallach said, "The good, bad, and the ugly. I ever get you down, you're going to need a lot of help to get up again, my friend."
Right.
So anyway, politics. We always touch on that a little bit. Trump, the bloodbath thing. I actually did a video. I did a video and I had it online on X. I think I put it on Rumble as well. But I showed his clip of him talking about the imbalance of imports, especially with Chinese manufacturing in Mexico, bringing the cars in, and what he was going to do to try to stop that. We could play the clip, but probably everybody's seen it. He clearly was talking about economic problems. And when he said, if something isn't done about it, if I don't get elected and get the opportunity to do something about it, whether it be with tariffs or whatever, there's going to be a bloodbath with what's going on with some of the way these imports, and you have China and building things in foreign lands and then importing them into the United States. And everybody just ran with that term bloodbath.
It's the left. Is this the left-leaning media
Oh,
again,
absolutely.
hanging on to a term that most politicians have said probably in the last couple of
Yeah.
years?
And there was a bunch of people that put it together, a whole
A
script,
real, yeah, I
yeah,
love it.
of people saying bloodbath about certain
Yeah.
elections going to be a bloodbath and all these other things. A bloodbath is kind of like the word war. It's going to be war. If you and I really, disagree on this,
Right.
I don't think people really literally mean violence. And of course, the argument I did get when I had the video online, I did get trolled a little bit. A lot of people said, "Well, this was somebody who, has incited violence before, and January 6th, and da 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 da." You can start getting into the finer points of that argument. There's a lot about January 6th that I don't like all the way
Oh,
around.
that stinks to high
It
heaven.
does.
It always stunk to high heaven. They were
It
using
does.
it. They got scared because they couldn't stand seeing the American people getting behind someone that they couldn't control. And I
Yeah.
really think that caused the whole thing to occur. And then it's been used for a couple
Yeah.
of years. And now, of course, it's backlash. And this is what happens. They have to beat something to death until it becomes a weapon against themselves. And the left-leaning liberals, I don't think they realize how bad the media is actually hurting them.
Yep. That's what I would say about the whole bloodbath situation.
Yeah, it's
This
doing
is
more damage.
yes, it's this is the boy who called wolf. Sooner or later, some politician or something is going to make an outrageous statement, and Trump has made some outrageous statements over the years. That's for damn sure, legitimate ones. And nobody believes it because of the fact of things like this. Nancy Pelosi pretty much all out insinuated that he was talking about an uprising if he wasn't elected. That's what
Oh, she's such a snake. I'm sorry, I don't usually put down people but get out of politics,
yeah,
please. You have overstayed your fucking welcome.
yes,
Seriously. Most of them have. Most of the boomer politicians it's time to retire because you are
Yeah.
dragging your very dated beliefs and your money-making opportunities into the American people's middle income and destroying the middle class, and it's just time to go, please,
Yep.
and let some people in there that can do a guy, and let's please instill some limitations on how long they can stay in office.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But
Term
you
limits.
see it with AOC, like, I'm not just gonna bash the red side that's been in it's on both sides, but like AOC, you can see she's playing safe now because
Hmm.
she likes the cushy position she's gotten herself in, and she's lost her teeth. I'm
Yeah.
sure, she'll probably try to display some after the election, but, she's playing it too safe now. It's losing people's respect for her that voted for her in the first place.
Well, speaking of the election, there's a lot of speculation about RFK. This program has a lot of RFK followers,
Yeah.
and I would have to say at this point, I'm an RFK supporter. Okay, I know I most certainly cannot handle Biden. Um,
That's
Trump.
like voting in a corpse.
I'm not a big Trump
So
person either, and I
sorry.
made that clear when I did that video about supporting his. He got a bad rap on the bloodbath remark.
Yeah, he did.
But what I'm getting at is, I suppose whether you like it or not, Trump is probably going to win the election. Now, this is a lot can change in the next 6 months or whatever it is. A lot can change.
Yeah.
It used to be that RFK Jr. was a long shot, but that's not true anymore. There's polling that indicates he's steadily rising.
Mhm.
And there's also been some reports come out this week that Democrats are now very worried about RFK because they feel that he could really damage Biden's campaign.
And he could if they stay the course.
Right. We talked last week about some of the zany names that were on a potential list for vice presidents. We won't regurgitate all that. I feel, quite frankly, that the chip that's kind of out there is Tulsi Gabbard.
Mhm.
If she goes with RFK, that is going to be a major boost to that campaign. I feel that they're both very physically and very mentally sharp. They're
Mhm.
both in excellent physical condition. They're both in excellent mental condition. And that would be kind of nice for a change to have two capable people on the ticket. I think that would be a big boost for RFK Jr. But with that being said, I don't think it's going to happen. I
Yeah, I
think,
think it would actually be her smartest choice because it would still leave her with a career afterwards,
yeah,
regardless of whether he wins or not. I mean, Trump's a dumbass.
yes, he is.
He is. He's just a dumbass. But he's at least I know what I'm getting with him.
Yes.
RFK, and I'm a fan of RFK. I actually reached out to them and said, "Hey, PR pioneer over here. I'd love to help out if I can
Yeah.
in New York." I'm just sharing that because I believe in being very transparent. I think he's the best choice because we've got a corpse and a baboon as our options, and the third option is the independent, and he makes sense. I agree with most everything he thinks and says, which is not something I can say about most politicians.
Yeah. By the same token,
Mhm.
Tulsi spoke, I believe, at Mar-a-Lago a week or two ago.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, fueling a lot of speculation that she could go with Trump. And I hate to tell my RFK followers,
I don't
but
think she's as strong as you think she is.
she's a pretty formidable person. I think if he gets her,
Hmm.
he's going to win, barring some asinine comment or something that he makes. That ticket would be right now. We're talking about all the things we just talked about, all the zaniness in
Hmm.
the country. That's the kind of shit that got him elected in 2016,
Yeah.
and it's worse now than it was then. And people are getting tired of that. I think a law and order candidate this time around looks very appealing. And I very seldom say that a vice presidential candidate alone will make or break a ticket. I don't think that's the case.
Mm-mm.
But with the edge that Trump has already, the extra oomph that she would give that ticket.
Yeah, especially as a female.
Yes, and a very capable one. Here again, very intelligent. In a vice presidential debate with what's her name, the Kamala, she would tear her to pieces. And
Oh my God, that would actually be worth paying for. I kind of like to see that. Juicy. Sorry.
and it shouldn't be this way. We can talk around it all we want. It shouldn't be this way, but she's very attractive. So she's fits the. It shouldn't make a difference, but it does. We all know that.
Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, like for example, when JFK debated Nixon, if you listened to it on the radio,
Yeah, it was about the suit color and the handsomeness.
The polling said that Nixon won. If you watched it on TV, you said that Kennedy won.
Yeah, which was a combination of his looks and his vivacious speaking style. But
yes.
It also had a lot to do with the suit. Because of his presence, if you look at the video, the visual of it, his color suit was much more powerful and memorable.
Yeah.
It matters. Clothing matters. That's one of the reasons why I can't stand the way Kamala or Hillary Clinton dress.
Yeah, and Nixon, by the same token, looked bad on video because he didn't put the makeup on and some other things. He started to sweat. He looked very pasty, very sweaty,
Probably in withdrawals.
Very peaked.
Yeah.
So your looks matter. And I think that Tulsi is going to be an asset to any ticket.
It's career suicide for her.
Yeah, I
mean, it's like a 70% chance that it's career suicide, regardless of whether he wins or not.
Yeah, depending on how that presidency goes, if he wins, if it ends in another fiasco, it would be bad for her, and I don't want that to happen to her. She deserves better than that. Naturally, if I could design the fairy tale, I would like her to go with RFK and them two to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think regardless, if Trump wins, which he has a very good chance of doing, but I think RFK is going to really be a surprise regardless. He's so unpredictable and he causes so much chaos that it's going to damage her no matter what. And to escape that situation not damaged is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd be great. It's great if she ends up becoming a future president, but I just don't know if you can do that as his running mate.
Yeah. The vibe that I'm getting from the people who are close to that campaign are that she's not going to go with RFK, but you never know. Okay, he's going to announce next week, and we'll have something to talk about on this program then. Getting back to Trump, Vivek, I don't know about. I'm going to say I don't know about that either. A lot of people have mentioned him, and
I like him.
Yeah, he would be very hard to debate. He's another tough one. He's very sharp on his feet. It doesn't mean that he's 100% right all the time, but he can present the facts really quickly to support.
And he can make it sound like he's right.
Oh yeah, he can make it sound. Yeah, he can make it convince you of anything. So we'll see what happens, and it's going to be an interesting. Like I said, the whole election cycle is going to be interesting. But we will have some more information next week because by then we'll know some of these vice presidential picks, including RFKs. Why don't you tell us? You got a lot going on real quickly. If you can summarize it, your book, your podcast, tell people where people can find you.
The new episode of Citizen Journalist podcast is out where all podcasts are available. And of course, I interviewed the amazing Billy Dees. I have an event in New York City for Soul Tech, my magazine and lifestyle brand. If you want to try to get tickets to it, it's an amazing event, film screening and panel discussion to talk about how to take immigration from sound bites to solutions. Reach out to me on Soul Tech World, and I'll see if I can get you into the event. And of course, Memory Mansion is available everywhere. And thank you again to everybody who ordered it and continues to order it for making it number one. I really appreciate it. And you can find me, social media wise, you can find me on X under @Shamanisis.
Absolutely. You can find me at Billy Dees on X. That's probably kind of like my social media home. I'm on other platforms as well. Just search Billy Dees. You'll find me. The podcast is available everywhere. Anywhere podcasts are found. We're on most of the small apps. We're on all the major ones. It's not hard to find the Billy Dees podcast. We're going on 10 years. We're short of 10 years in its current form. I've been doing this a lot longer than that, but in its current form, the Billy Dees podcast is going on 10 years. So we're well established on all of the podcast platforms, all those other things, real easy to find. Also got some great interviews. I have some already in the playlist. Feel free to check them out. And more coming up within the next week or two, especially after Easter. I got a couple slated for after Easter.
Woohoo!
Shaman, as always, thank you for co-hosting the program.
Absolutely. Thank you, Billy.
And thank you to our audience. It's been great. And we will talk to you again next week.
Thank you for listening to the Billy Dees podcast. Follow Billy Dees on X, formerly known as Twitter, for updates about the program.